This screencast is designed as either the starter for a lesson or just simply for revision if found online for techniques approaching examination essays at Key Stage 4. It has been written for a Year 9 class who have recently been studying 12 Angry Men by Reginald Rose and have just written their first real attempts at a Key Stage 4 English Literature assessment essay. The two questions that they have to choose one of are now on the screen in front of you, and in a moment we're going to consider how to approach these questions. One thing I would say at this point is that both questions give you 3 bullet points, and when an examiner gives bullet points, you're not necessarily obliged to use them, but it's always a very good idea to do so, if only because all the people marking your essays will expect you to have done so, and it saves them getting confused by what they see in front of them. So here you have, for both essays, 3 clues as to the content that the examiner expects to see. This then, from level 2, I haven't included level 1 as a sort of aspirational attempt to make sure that nobody thinks that that's the limit of their achievement, is the mark scheme by which these essays are assessed when you sit them as part of an examination in our school for the EdExcel certificate, the state school version of the IGCSE in Year 11. You'll notice that, broadly speaking, there are 4 strands to each level. We'll come back to this a little bit later on. There's one just checking that you know and understand the text you're reading. And the last one, which is asking you in the event of having to compare or work with 2 ideas throughout your response, that there is an equal balance. The middle 2 are the 2 that actually the bulk of this essay addresses, and I'll come back to them in a later slide. So the first thing we have to do is try and work out, whatever question we're answering, what the examiner actually wants. In this case, the first question, explore how Reginald Rose presents the theme of justice in 12 Angry Men. First thing we might want to think about is what the word explore actually means in this case. And in a moment we can pause the tape and you can discuss this in your groups, or if you're sitting at home, give it some thought. Perhaps a clue to this is whether you think the word explore suggests a simple and straightforward answer. Discuss it now. When you've done that, we move along the line and we see we are exploring how Reginald Rose presents. As soon as you see how and the writer, or how and the name of the writer in a question, then you know that you are being asked to write an analysis of the way the writer writes, not just repeating the plot lines. How Reginald Rose presents means what are the techniques he uses, what are the choices he has made when he puts together his play. The theme of justice, again, means that my response, if I'm writing this essay, must look at the concept of justice and how it is shown. You might want to consider, what is justice? In a play like 12 Angry Men, it seems to me to be self-evident that one of the ways that justice is shown to happen is that the play moves from an opening where 11-1 of the jury are dead set on a guilty vote, meaning the death sentence, to an ending where the defendant will walk out of the court a free man, justice having been done. It seems, therefore, that if you're writing this essay, if you're asked to explore in an essay question, then you know there's going to be a range of response rather than a single answer. There's even room for debate, the idea that there might be 2 conflicting ideas, 2 conflicting viewpoints on the same idea. Notice how the writer, this therefore is the key for you to realise. We call these question stems. In this case, how the writer is the key signal that you are required to analyse the choices and the decisions made by the writer when putting their point across. And then thinking about justice as a theme, what is the message of this play? How is justice actually done in this play? Would there be any justice if it weren't for Juror 8? What is there in this play that we see that would get in the way of justice? And it's not just the bullying of someone like Juror 3. It's also the willingness of other jurors to accept the majority for their own convenience. Justice is hindered, as much as anything else, by laziness. So that's question 1. Question 2, an interesting question. I like question 2. It has 2 parts. Both of them are equally important. The first sentence sets up the clues if I'm writing this essay. I know that if I'm going to answer this essay, I'm going to have to look for moments, ideas, where Juror 8, he's the focus of the question, was determined and skilled. That's my focus. And he's going to wield influence by being determined and skilled. If I can find those moments, then I can begin to discuss why he is a key character. Going on, I'm asked once again to explore, so I know I'm going to have to find a range of ideas. But explore why is not the same as tell me what X, in this case Juror 8, does. If he is a key figure, then he must wield influence, especially we assume in the area of justice, fight against prejudice, which are perhaps the key themes of the play. He does it by being determined and skilled. I need to find those moments in the play and then discuss the choices that the author has made when he has put them onto the paper. So use the quotation, if you are lucky enough to have a question with a quotation, to focus your response. You've got clues within that quotation used. Then we look for moments when Juror 8 shows the things that we want him to show. And then we've got to see him using his attributes of being skilled and determined in order to further the playwright's message. The message might be, certainly the way that I see that it is, in one of the directions, that justice needs only the courage of an ordinary man in order to prevail. There's nothing special about justice. It just requires courage, determination, skill in order to prevail. Having said all this, how do you get marks? Well, I've included here the descriptors from the middle. Remember back on the first slide, second slide rather, I was saying that there were 2 strands in those assessment objectives. And here they are again. I've used the ones from band 4. It could have been any of them, it doesn't matter. But read them carefully. Comments about the writer's use of characterization, theme, plot, setting for literary effect show sustained appreciation of the writer's craft. And engagement with the text is sustained. Examples used are fully relevant. First thing to notice, you get no credit whatsoever without examples to back up your argument. And this is the message of this little starter today. Whether you pee, whether you purl, whether you zoom in and out, the message is the same. Simple assertion that something is so does not carry any weight without evidence. If you don't believe me, consider maths. You can all find angle BAC in this right-angled triangle question. I have absolutely no doubt. I've told you CBA, you can see that ACB is a right angle. You can all tell me, without too much bother, what the missing angle is. But you and I know that in maths you have to show your working, and you will tell me how you have found this out. You will not just write down your answer, because you know that if you do, you will not get full marks for the question. Why on earth should it be any different in English? Simply stating that somebody has a certain characteristic, or that somebody is angry, or that somebody speaks with passion, without showing the evidence for that, will not get you the marks that you deserve for the level of knowledge that you have. Thank you, Year 9. See you again soon.